Hi everyone, it's Helen Argyrou here, Women of Truth conferences, seminars, and spectacular events that really support awakening women. We really are joined once again today by an incredible woman. Her name is Dr. Kim de Aramo, and she is actually a physician and a best-selling author. She really pulls together this really powerful connection, integration that we all need to be making these days with our mind and our body. She has a mind-body toolkit, and she's actually the founder of the American Institution of Mind-Body Medicine. She did a residency in Emory University in Atlanta, received board certification in emergency medicine, and completed a fellowship in osteopathic medicine as well. I'm so excited by her because I really just met, as you know, once again, tuned in through the airwaves, through the internet. When we use it correctly, we can really meet incredible people, and really felt something about the way she was presenting and the way that she was featured, her knowledge and her wisdom. And it just felt like a woman of truth to me, someone who's standing in a really powerful place and able to connect people to their own power by shaving away all the myths about really what we should be polarizing in medicine and what we should be connecting to. And even just chatting with her now, I got so excited because we spoke about how, you can tell, I can't even stop the introduction. We got so excited about how important it is to bring mind-body connection to the hearts of everybody, to understand that they in their own being are responsible for their own health. Meaning that when you stop separating things, you really get this powerful chance to know that there are numerous ways that you can be helped and you can be healing with the help of many. So welcome, very warm welcome to you, Dr. Kim. It's so amazing to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so inspired about you and what you're doing, and that we've connected. Have done a lot of kind of interviews or summits and things, and the way, the way I used to evaluate them is kind of like what a lot of people do, like, oh, how many people are listening, or who are we speaking to? And that never felt like the way for me. And so I learned all of that a long time ago. And every time someone will connect with me about a request for a summit or an interview, and I'll just feel into like, what will this create? And is this aligned with the expansion that I'm here to be for the planet and to bring? And is this going to create more for myself and everyone involved? And it doesn't matter if that person's like brand new and this is their first time doing it or whatever. If it feels like a yes, then I'm like, I'm going to share this. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to show up for this. And this was a total yes. And now I'm so aware why, and I'm psyched that we met.
I'm so impressed by both of us for being able to tune in intuitively and actually demonstrate that it really works. When you are actually really tuning in, you can attract amazing things to yourself, and you can actually know what's really going on. You can guide yourself in the right way.
You can let yourself know what you know when you tune into the heart. And like as a doctor, for me, it's always about the technology of the body and how does this work and how do we access healing. And so there are receptors in the heart. They're actual neurites, sensory neurites, which are like brain cells, but they're completely separate from the brain that function independently, and they will receive awareness. So that's why we can say, like, is this going to be a contribution to me? What will this create? And have awareness, even though the mind could never know. Like the mind would have to say, well, how many what are the numbers of people, or where are we going to be sharing this? And like, that's an analytical thing. You can still use the mind, but I use mine in a very different way, more of as a receptor for what I know here at this level of the heart, to allow myself to kind of decode it or make choices and move forward. But I'm always listening here first and foremost. And that's what creates synchronicities, or like the healing we're looking for, which is such a part of what I do, helping people heal from chronic illness. How do we know what medication, or how do we know if it's, even if like it's an energy healer or homeopath or something that may be more to explore? If we're in our head, we get lost in all of the micro minutia of, I don't know, that sounds like a good idea. Or, well, the book told me I should eat these things, so maybe I'll do that. But if we're disconnecting from the heart, we're lost in space.
Wow. And I am just noticing my little reflector heart badge that I bought when I went to a birthday party, the two people just moved into a new house, and I bought them reflector badges for their bikes because they were so proud to tell me that they ride these bikes. And here we are talking about the heart as, sounds to me like you're saying the heart is the antenna, and that you can actually prove that with this concept of the neurites. I really hope people are getting this information from you about how wise the heart is, because it's what we know to be so true, and what we have to uncover and remember really is the wisdom in our own body, not just in our heads, right?
Yes, and it's infinite. It accesses infinite source, infinite intelligence, the intelligence of the body. And that's like the divine intelligence we all have access to, but we've been taught to block it out or suppress it, or that doesn't make sense, or that's too hokey pokey. But there's a lot of science that we now have, which for me, I didn't need the science in order to say, well, okay, then I guess I'll embrace this. It's how I've always lived. And whenever I've connected here, and allowed this heart-brain coherence or this heart-brain alignment, I experience a smoother ride on the whole thing, and amazing things happen. And we invite in the beautiful life that we want to live through that connection, because it guides our choices. So for me, it's always been more and more of that, but it's pretty cool that now we have so much science to understand what this is about, what's happening, how does this work. And I think for some people it helps us trust it even more, that like we realize like the heart is actually sending electromagnetic signals to our brain, and it's okay to let that in, so that we let in awareness that goes beyond what we already know.
Yeah, so we don't have to feel so bad about disagreeing with somebody that tells us we need to do certain things if it doesn't feel right for us, because I think for a long time we have been programmed, and women so much more. I know you work with a lot of women, and I know we shared a little bit about this, where we tend to carry around the sense of not being good enough, like we don't know enough about what needs to happen for ourselves. And somehow, I want to get into that with you today, but I want to remind everybody that you're a medical doctor, but you merge so much with all the different modalities of healing and health. And so you're probably the best doctor, I think, anybody could go to, is someone who is open enough to really consider all the alternatives, and to really guide you as the client patient to also feel what is right for you. And you work with autoimmune diseases, mostly with women, correct?
Yes, it's mostly women that come to my work, and most of them have autoimmune illness, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, chronic anxiety. And it's always this pattern of like, I'm trying everything that I know, and if I don't know, I'm learning more and learning more, and I'm trying harder, but nothing's making a difference. And is it just hopeless? And it's never hopeless. I mean, that's just not the truth of who we are. And when we learn this way of connecting with wisdom and letting it in, it's unlimited. And like you just said, women especially, like we're programmed to doubt ourselves. We're programmed to block what we know, and then realize like, oh, well, this person said this, or this person said that, or maybe something's wrong with me, and so I should doubt myself. And then we play this game of like all of the stuff of the mind, and that it's always limited. So it doesn't matter what anyone tells you. Well, here's what all the research shows. What you should do is this. If it doesn't feel right here in this sort of inner resonance of the heart and of your knowing, it's okay to just let that go and dump it. And so it kind of feeds onto that sort of not enough. Like if I've learned, oh, I'm not enough, that all of that self-doubt, and then I kind of tune in outside me, all it's going to be is more evidence that I'm not enough.
Right.
But if I can learn to tune in and know what I know and stand for it strongly, I can be a massive, unthinkable change agent for myself, my body, and everyone on the planet.
And absolutely every family can benefit from a woman or a mother who can stand in that power. And already we do, right? We have examples, we have moments. But I think we're going to get into that in our interview, really, about how as women we tend to get a bit programmed. I said it before, I say it again, about how our intuition and our emotions are sometimes too much, or they're unnecessary. There's so much jumbo. What do I even call that? So much disrespect, I think, about emotional intelligence, and this is why we need it so much now. So I think it feeds into this as well. Would you agree, like that women are doubting themselves and they just don't trust their emotions sometimes?
Yes, and we're all ready to awaken, which is why so many women are like their system is so suppressed by them buying into that limitation that their body's like, we can't do this anymore.
Wow.
And we make it wrong. We make the illness wrong, or the pain wrong, or the suppression of the immune system, but it's not. It's what's right about this that I'm not getting, but like, whoa, my body is so on board for my awakening and for my fullest expression that my body thrives when I say yes to it. And it's going to show me and shut down and contract, and I'll feel that when I shut down to it.
Right. And I mean, as a therapist for years, I remember hearing from the therapist I did my training with that the body has incredible wisdom. And I think you speak that, you are that, and you teach that, right? That the body knows, the body's telling you through a disease, something needs to shift, something needs to rebalance, right?
Yes. And if we don't learn how to tap into it, then it is all like mumbo jumbo. Oh, everything's beautiful. Everything happens for a reason. We're all connected. It's a nice bumper sticker, but it isn't what we're living every moment.
Right.
And it needs to be, especially as women, because like my husband always says, women are the spiritual leaders of the planet, and they're here to assist the awakening of men who aren't always as connected. Whatever their hardwiring is, they're not always as connected with the internal, because women have more of a feminine essence, which is inner and the unknown and the sort of the dark side, and men are more the outer and the doing and the external and the, rise above, and it's like, sun and the moon. So if most men have a masculine nature, they may tend not to connect with this aspect of self. But we all have within us a masculine self, a feminine self. When those are in harmony, our lives can work well. But like you said earlier when we were chatting, a lot of women, especially who are in leadership positions, are in their masculine and denying their feminine. And so they go, push, but they're not allowing their feminine nature to be part of their leadership equation. And that's the essential component that's been missing on the planet for all these years that is really needed right now.
Right. And I think your response to me when I was speaking about that was also about how really we are here to awaken that. And the awakening of it is also someone or somebody that doesn't necessarily separate these things so much anymore. Like in medicine, not to have to say, oh, well, the traditional is right and the complementary is unscientific, but to really look at everything and see how can I be helped. So tell us, what are the biggest issues you see with women? What are women really suffering from nowadays?
A lot of women, because we haven't learned how much wisdom we have, we believe what we're told. So maybe we're too obedient, and then we tune into these outer things to give us validation. Like, does this man really love me? Okay, I'm worthy. Oh, am I making a paycheck? Okay, I'm really valuable. Are other people accepting how I'm being? Okay, then I'm doing good. And none of those things are actually an indication if you're truly on your path of what brings you most fully alive. None of them are necessarily a reflection of that. So if you can let that go, and like for me, the creative process of like finding a man who is so freaking rock star solid for me and always inviting me to be my wicked wild self in like every way that shows up. He was a necessary part of my equation of the life the fulfilling life that I really wanted, but I couldn't find that man. I mean, I searched high and low until I allowed this inner alignment. So it was me first integrating the space of I love and celebrate myself unconditionally. The things I think are good, the things I think are bad, the things I think are worthy, the things that are freaking crazy, nutso, unacceptable. Like that's what I thought. I had all these judgments on myself. Yeah. So my relationships reflect that. But if we can begin to connect with the essence of what it is we want, like why do I want health? Why do I want to have a baby? Like a lot of women that work with me maybe have infertility or chronic migraines or chronic autoimmune. And there's this thinking like, if I just have that thing, then I'll be whole. And it really is the other way around. It's like, can I collect that, connect with that, let my cells percolate in the essence of that result of what is the wholeness of me, and what would it be like to have that health or that career where I'm really inspired and I'm really making a difference, and so much amazing things that they really come through me. What does that feel like? And then just let your cells bathe in it. Like, take a deep breath and then feel into it at the level of your heart where you kind of already connect with that inspiration, and then let your body drink it in. Because what you're doing, and that's how manifestation works, you invite it in. You don't attract it or fight for it, or it's not really like that. In the feminine essence, it's this invitation, just like we invite a man. Like if my husband gets into his crazy and I'm like, it's really juicy over here. If I can be that invitation, because out of love, I can just invite him and love me, instead of, no, you don't understand. You're being crazy. That's not what's happening at all. That's not going to invite him. It's not going to create anything but more separation. So when we finally begin living in that truth of our own essence, we can invite everyone into awakening. We will awaken the planet.
Well, you make it so palpable and you articulate it in such a sensual, sensory way, and I really hope women listening are going to get a feeling of this, because I really hear you saying something I've also always believed and felt in my last few years too, is this really important distinction to start making when you want to manifest, or you want something, or you're trying to create something, that you have to feel it first. You have to, it's not the right word, but you want to welcome it in, like you said that so beautifully, inviting it in, the seduction of it, to become it before you can have it. It's the biggest paradox of it all, isn't it? How do I become it when I don't have it? How do I find this amazing creature?
Yes.
I just have never had experience with it. And I know so many women around their 40s are struggling with finding a really great partner. So I wanted to say to all of you, from Dr. Kim and I, that it's possible. We've both done it. And it's really important that you really do align, not just love yourself, tweet kind of way, but really align inside. So now it's time. Tell us, Dr. Kim, what is this big breakthrough, life-changing experience? And what did it actually teach you in your life? Was it the one about bringing in your husband that you have now and how you needed to align? Or was there some other moment in your life that really grounded, humbled you, and taught you something that many people listening could benefit to hear from?
There's so many.
Sure.
And I want to also share that, like, I can let a new one come every day. Like, we never get there where our expansion is finished and you're like, oh, thank God. But we can come into a space where it's all fluid and it's all beautiful and it's divine and it's an enjoyable experience. So as far as like, do we have to suffer the rest of our lives, or will I ever get there and have peace? We will always expand, and we can do it more joyfully. So I would say, gosh, getting sick and having that, like I had an autoimmune illness and chronic pain and like all of these things and all of, of course you go to the doctor and they're like, well, nobody's found anything. It's been all these tests and all these years. And like, maybe it's in your head and here's a antidepressant medicine. And it was like, what a shutdown, this isn't all in my head. And people will say to me too, with sharing mind body medicine, so you're saying this is all in my head? No, I have the lab values to show that there's really something going on. It's your physical isn't separate from your mental, emotional. And so I had to kind of, even though I understood this, experience it myself years back, that when I integrated wholeness and I finally really surrendered to let this me come through, and ask what's right about this illness that I'm not getting. And I didn't even ask that until I hit rock bottom of like searching up, climbing the tree I was climbing to try to shake down those apples of somebody help me, give me an answer. And the answer I got was total BS, like this old belief system of here's what's wrong with you and here's how to fix it and here's your medications and here's all the changes you have to do. And I was like, that's not my juicy life. I knew that solution didn't really match the effervescent, fluid life that I was here for. And so that's when I dumped it all and I said, all right, body, what's right about this that I'm not getting? And opening to that wisdom, being willing, even if I thought that makes no sense or, geez, that's scary or whatever, it didn't matter at that point. I am willing to receive you, and I'm willing to let you come through no matter what that looks like. And that is what created my health. But it definitely is also what created my marriage and my babies. Like at 45, I had my second child, or it was a couple weeks before my birthday. So I was 44, but I had an amazing, beautiful, healthy, two healthy pregnancies and beautiful, healthy children. And it was, and I mean, if I tell you the stories of how those guys came about, it wasn't like your typical, oh, we're trying and hey, now we're pregnant. It was like,
Wow.
It was not a possibility. When I tell you I had to pull deep within myself to be courageous enough to stand in the space and be the invitation for my husband, because he had his own barriers up too. It was like an instantaneous magic moment. And we conceived my daughter, Gemma, and he just went for it. Like he had all these plans about, well, we have to be engaged for a year. You know, first we have to know each other for a year, and then we have to be engaged for a year, and then we get married. And then after we get whatever that was in place, then we'll think about kids. And I'm like, I'm 38 years old. Like that can't be our plan. Like, so instead of what I first did was like, oh, come on, this is stupid, you know, but that is not the invitation. Right? We've got to align with the juiciness of it's already done. My life of my own abundance, it already exists. And am I willing to step into it unconditionally? And that was an embodiment like nobody's business that called into reality. You know, we're having this marriage and having our daughter and now having this beautiful, beautiful home in like my most idyllic location, and the manifestation of that was completely and utterly magical. And I do think that that illness was the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me, because I just wanted to feel better and march on my merry way with my regularly scheduled program of fight, 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 work, 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 overcome and achieve, and, you know, and go for it and shine. But that wasn't actually me shining. That was me working my ass off. And
I'm sure there are so many hearing themselves through your story. Like we all want it to be perfectly designed, but we don't really get that sometimes there's this hugely transformational glitch in the plan that actually takes us to the outcome. So you were not always this clear about it or this connected to that being the ultimate place of arrival. And I'm wondering what you were like when you were like a little girl, like at 8 years old. What kind of advice would you give her, knowing how life turned out now?
Oh, I would tell her, believe in yourself even more. Let everything that's in you shine. Because I had this, I knew this somewhere, and I always was different in a way that was very weird. And it was hard growing up in Boston, where it's very like the doctor is God. And why would you even think about questioning that? That's what the doctor says. And also like just a very kind of more conservative way of being, like everything's good and oh, everything's nice, and you don't really go beneath the surface or share, like you don't air your dirty laundry.
Right.
And so which was like impossible not to show all of my own crazy and what's actually happening in here, was it was scary for everyone around me, and it was kind of rejected, right? Because it's like, that makes people uncomfortable if they're not willing to feel what's happening for themselves. And so it was, you know, I learned how to kind of suppress it and get by and try to kind of fit in, but it never felt real or fulfilling to me. And yeah, I think I would just tell her, Kim, everything you are is beautiful and it's valuable to everyone around you. And it's okay for you to just let yourself be you.
Fantastic. What do you think women should be telling themselves? The lie that women live with, we've established there's something about not being good enough. Maybe we can name another one. But
yeah,
what are the remedies? You know,
here's the biggest thing. This is the biggest lie that we learn as women, is that our sensuality is not valuable. We learn what you do on the outside, what you create, what you produce, your achievements, your degree, that's your value. And we actually learn, or we don't learn anything about sensuality. Like there's value. A woman who shows up in sensuality, like I look at you, you've got this beautiful, like you can't not be a sensual woman. You wouldn't do your hair like that. You wouldn't be wearing that beautiful jacket that just looks like, oh, I want to feel
and textured. And the
Yes.
flowers, just for you, Kim, actually very special gift that they arrived in life, and here they are for this interview. I totally agree with you. I also teach Tantra and my own version of it because I don't like to mix things up in inauthentic ways either. But I think from that I learned, and from what you say now, we have to give license to women to understand how incredibly powerful they are in their sensuality. Tell us what you would like.
When we sense, when we're willing, whether it's just like, I feel my neck pain, or I feel my shoulders relax, or I feel my breath. It doesn't have to be a good feeling. Just willing to feel what's happening in here.
Right.
It changes our electromagnetics. It changes the bioelectric field of the body. Very powerful. And this bioelectric field has been shown to be like hundreds of times more powerful than the chemical messages being sent in our body. So you have the nerves, communicating with nerves and little hormones and messengers that go throughout the body, and they do affect every cell in your body. And even more powerful than that is your bioelectric field. So if you feel like, take a deep breath and feel your body. If we connect physically, like move your shoulders around, move your neck, feel your bum on the seat, bring your awareness into your pelvis, move your hips, just feel your physical body. And if you take like 5 breaths in that space, feel what's happening physically, you become more aware of what you're feeling energetically, what you're feeling emotionally. Are you irritated, agitated? Are you angry, frustrated, grieving? It's valuable to feel it, actually, because if you can feel it, you can heal it. When you feel it, which is a way of, I witness and sense this energy without judgment or suppression, right? So it's more an objective, like, oh, there's a tightness here. Oh, there's like a tension in my chest, or there's fluttering in my belly. And I just notice it. I breathe in, I breathe out. It's like a way of saying, yes, I accept you, I allow you to be present, and I choose to be fully alive. That's really the equation of what we're saying when we allow ourselves to sense something in our body. We're bringing our awareness to it. So now we're allowing the energy to move. All energy wants to move. So if you really feel and allow your anger, you're angry for 12 seconds, and breathe in, you breathe out, celebrate my anger. I am freaking miffed. And I can just let that be as it is. It will move. I mean, that's just the nature of energy. It will move. But what happens is we're living like from here up, just in the head. No, I'm not feeling anything. Everything's good. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be positive. I'm just positive. No negative here. And like we judge everything we feel as good or bad, positive or negative. And we don't really just allow it. So if just sensing, whether it's like being sexual, feeling your body, or just like you have like this beautiful jacket on and, oh, I'm going to put on some makeup and celebrate myself as a beautiful, sensual woman. That is the most powerful thing, more powerful than any medication on the planet. If you're in the presence of an awakened, sensual, alive woman, you can heal anything.
That is so powerful. When you were speaking, I was actually realizing what you were saying about being so present with this sensation in your body, because I think meditation, there's different versions, but the meditation I practice is very much exactly that. But when you were saying what you were saying, just being aware in the moment of a symptom or a feeling or a sensation and being conscious of that makes you have a moment where it doesn't have to go and get repressed or suppressed into your body cells, because you're conscious of it. And that's what you're saying in some ways, right? That you accept it, right?
Yes.
That is so profound.
Totally differently.
Yeah, and then it doesn't have to go and add to making you sick or collecting up with a whole bunch of other mishmash stuff that's going to...
Yes. And when we learn this, we begin to understand that like our bioelectric field, or like if we're lit up, turned in, turned on and tuned in and lit up and in love with ourselves. It's really about, I'm in love with you, Kim. I let you have your anger. I let you have your crazy. I let you have all of it. And I celebrate you. That dramatically changes the electromagnetics of our body. And we've all had the experience where you like go near someone and you're like, ooh, that doesn't feel so good. I got to get away from them. Or you go near someone, you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be alive. I feel amazing. Wow. It's because it affects your biomagnetic field. It affects your physical cells. It affects your physical brain. And you'll actually have different thoughts and different memories and different neuronal patterns when you're in a higher bioelectric field. If you go near someone who's angry and grouchy and rah, 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 life is awful, if there's a part of you resonating there, you'll feel it and they'll trigger you. And they kind of, it's a pattern in your brain that you start lighting up and you're like, God, life really does stink. And you actually trigger memories of all the times you failed and all the times you were wrong or rejected. And you're like, this is the truth. But it's changing your perspective. So when you light up by just accepting yourself fully and be willing to sense and know that that is of value, you can show up as the light in the world that transforms and transmutes everything around you.
So much information in what you're sharing with us about all these teachings that we see from all the spiritual teachers, all the thought leaders that are echoing many of these things that are coming through with what you're saying. So if we now come back to the way that women then are suppressing themselves so much and they feel like they're not good enough, what could we say is another way that they end up checking out, not accepting, not really noticing their own bodies, their own sensuality, sensory system? What would be another way that they lie to themselves, do you think?
Well, one of the things that happens is when we tune in and we're willing to feel, what we feel first are all the repressed things. So we feel anger and judgment and grief and shame. And it's like, whoa, what are you talking about? This is a bad thing. Why'd you tell me to do that? Let me just shut it back down. We can't access our aliveness or health or like the love of our life or the career, the amazing career we want when we aren't accessing all of ourselves. And so, yeah, it might be, it will probably be uncomfortable in the beginning, like sometimes excruciating, but we freaking women are rock stars. Like we can go through excruciating. If you have a baby, it's like, whoa, this is pretty intense. But I'm 100% willing, and I'm willing to do it again, like to have that child come into the world. And there are a lot of things we're willing to go through, but we have to have the understanding of what it's birthing, or that it really is birthing something so unthinkably powerful for us and for the world, that we're willing to do it. We're willing to show up that fully. I'm willing to show up that fully for me and for you. So if you love anyone in your life, you can let that inspire you to open and be willing to feel all that lies within you, the comfortable and the uncomfortable, so that something new can be birthed forward.
Right. So we spoke before coming onto the video about really this incredible emergence of wonderful women around the world, that you've met a few, I've met a few. Wouldn't it be incredible if we could actually gather in Colorado and or in Holland and Cyprus, and we're looking how we can make that happen. What would you say about this whole movement around the world of women in business, in politics, decision making, in science, technology, engineering, more and more women stepping forward, more and more trying to lead the way, and being a medical doctor, seeing the burnout, the autoimmune disease, having been through it yourself, all the amazing transformation from all of that. What are your thoughts and feelings about the women's movement?
We're sisters. And so when we let ourselves be seen in our thing I think are bad, thing I think are good, like really let it be seen and not compete with each other or think, like, oh, she is really great, so I have to make sure she thinks I'm really great, and then I suppress. Like, if we can be sisters to each other by living our own truth, that invites other women to live what's in them as well. So if you see, like I think anybody who meets you, or for me too, we are a walking invitation, because I am so willing to be all that I am and to accept all that I am, not to show up and be like, oh, sorry, my house is a little bit of a mess, but hopefully you don't mind, or, oh, I need to lose weight, or, oh, I didn't get dressed for the occasion and I'm terrible. Or, like, that's craziness. Be willing to celebrate yourself.
All the shame and apology, and it's time to put that to rest. But you speak so much to that group of women that inspire others to rise more into their own power. And I think it's seldom that we hear hear that from that level. I think a lot of people think about this movement and say, oh, well, the women that are not empowered need to become empowered. But how about the fact that we are all empowered, and those who are really standing in their truth make it even more possible for others? And
Yes.
instead of tearing her down, who's got the ambition and the whatever,
Yes.
let's
And seeing that.
reflection.
And seeing that in another, like if I ever see a woman who is, tearing someone down or herself, it's only because she's in pain. It's only because she doesn't feel good enough about herself. So I won't say, oh, it's really not a great idea to gossip, or like, that's just stupid. What I would say is do say something encouraging to her. And it's not just like, oh, but you're amazing because you're so blah, blah, blah. It's about celebrating the things we think are bad too. Like you're so willing to be in your pain, and I see your pain, and I know what that feels like. And to have compassion for that woman instead of trying to lift her up or help her not have pain. Like I'm not helping anybody. If I have a patient that comes to me and they're like, oh my God, and my fibromyalgia, and for 20 years I haven't had sex, and my body is overweight, and I'm like, oh my God, let's get you out of that. Here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna be fine. No, that's maybe a quick fix. But if I can really be with her to meet the depth of her despair and her self-rejection and her feeling of powerlessness, and just yes to this, and I breathe in and I breathe out because I've met my own, that energy will transmute, because it's not the truth of who she is at all. And she doesn't need a psychiatric evaluation or a psychology course to tell her, no, believe in yourself. You're not like this bad thing. You're a good thing. Well, okay, fine. We've all read the books, but it's actually a powerful transmutation that awakens us into the knowing, like, I already am all that. I don't have to be fixed. There is nothing wrong here. This is actually part of what's right about me too.
Yeah, and I think there's so much work to be done on that, just in reflecting it for women, just in being the presence of that with women, to telling them it's okay for them to be all of what they are, broken, shamed, shy, sad, whatever's going on. And then to also allow that space, like you say, it's so important for us to remember this. That eventually allows the energy to transmute. I typed it up on the box here because I really want to remember to put it into the clip on this video. And also something you said so profound before was that because we don't know how much wisdom we actually have, we believe what we are told. That's a quote direct from you, and I think it should be on.
That's a good quote.
It's a fantastic one. I didn't want to lose it, and it's on here. The Mayan calendar has a very interesting way of looking at specific people that are resonating on your frequency throughout your life. I don't remember the name of it. I don't know it well enough. But I feel like you and I might be on that grid connection, because it's almost like we are spurring each other on a little. And it's a very interesting energy between us. So I just want to name it, because I think this is part of what we're saying, is how can you reflect the passion that you see in another woman, is you just allow it to be accepted in you. And we don't all have the same amount. That's why I think we do have an interesting connection in life.
Yes.
But that's what you mean, right? It's that sisterhood connection that we all have, but also see in the other woman how she inspires you to be.
Yes, or I see in you what I see in me when I've had despair, when I've judged another, when I've had to tear someone down because somehow it gave me some relief and made me feel better. And what's right about this that I'm not getting? It's actually a beautiful thing to witness that thing we do. We don't have to make it wrong or try to overcome it. When we awaken, we're not that anyway, because it's not our true nature. Our true nature is this collaboration and this love and this sisterhood of empowerment. And so when we just notice all of the stuff that isn't aligned with that, we call each other into something higher.
Absolutely. And I really do, again, echo the support. Maybe we can think of ways, all of us listening, all of us working on this in the world, is ways of making that more and more possible, how to strengthen that, how to really bring this information to women, to help them to understand that there really are encouraging women out there that are going to be able to witness you in all of your glory, broken together, whatever it is.
Yes. And I'll say the number one thing is when I celebrate my pain. If I
Yeah.
celebrate my pain, because I can celebrate my achievements all day long and that's all well and good. But if I celebrate my pain, that is going to transmute so much for so many.
Right. To allow it.
I felt not enough, or I felt ashamed of myself, or I felt wrong. And even just like the other day, this came up. It's not like, well, 20 years ago, I moved beyond all that. It's like the next layer and the next layer of these spaces where I still haven't been willing to fully be myself, but because I'm asking for that, I'm asking for expansion in my life, life is going to invite me to that. It's going to say, okay, move through this today, Kim. And like something my mother said the other day. And I was like, ah! And then I was like, wait a minute, Kim, be anxious for nothing. You always have all you need. Feel everything that's coming up for you right now and let it move through. And then there was this amazing clarity. And I had a conversation with her and I said, Mom, is it actually true, all that stuff you just said, or are you just really scared? And she said, I'm just so worried about you. And so it was easy, because in the past, I couldn't do that. And there was no way. I was so angry and so freaked out and so defensive. And I really needed more from her. I needed her to support me, not her to call up and tell me, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about you. I'm so scared, and need me to reassure her. It's like, I got nothing for you right now. I need you to give to me. Right. But realize like, okay, that's not where we are. And what do I need to do so I always have my needs met, so that I can be compassionate for her and have love with her? And so it was a huge breakthrough for me, but being willing to celebrate my pain and know, when I feel all this heaviness, imagine the awesome things this is making space for. And yes, I'm willing to do this because I am willing to be all of that and invite that in.
And it's such a privilege to hear you share so honestly your moments of realization, your insight, your relationship with your mother, which I think is so important for us all to acknowledge as an incredible catalyst for all kinds of inner wisdom and acceptance that we really still spend our whole lives cultivating in that relationship. And I just feel very honored that you trust enough with us to share all that and to just put it all out there. And so much of what you told us about your own journey and your own wisdom coming through your own struggles and challenges, and really a powerful message again of how to celebrate pain. And we don't mean how to linger, lick, and be so slick in your victimization. We mean how to be in the present moment of your pain and allow the energy to transmute. It can move on. It will move on. So don't get stuck with it, because that's, I think, where we get a little bit confused. Tell us now, what are you most passionate about in your life? What project are you working on now? What area are you in that's exciting for you?
Oh, there's like so many things. I do have a little baby. He's 7 months, and he's the most brilliant, precious, joyful little thing. He's just amazing, and it's contributed so much to my life. It's incredible. And then there are, oh my God, there's so many things. All right, so I'll put these other two side things, because I have this Be the Medicine program for practitioners, and it's a way of assisting people who are here to assist others, or as a healer or as a mother or as whatever, and embodying really who they are, so that it comes from that space and not from depletion. So there's that. And then I'm writing my second book. It sounds a little crazy, there's all this going on, but it's been an unbelievably fluid process, because I kept asking, okay, I know this book wants to be born and it doesn't seem like the right time for me, but what would it take for this to be fluid and easy? And like all these things came in.
Oh, wow, what a great thing to ask for.
And the thing I think that's the most creative, that's going to create the most in my life right now, is my sexual relationship with my husband. There's my awareness that there's so much more that can be created here in our connection and embracing each other and having, like, prioritizing our joy and time together. We took a trip to Paris this summer, just the two of us, and it was amazing. And I knew that would contribute to our lives and to our children and all of that. But I realized, like, I don't want to just have it like we have to be in Paris and it's like this once a year thing. I want to show up to integrate this into my life more fully on an everyday level. And so what I realized was, so often we're in this depletion that says, oh, well, when I get all this handled, then I'll have, this juicy sex life. Or, oh, when I'm so tired now, but let me rest. And then later when I feel better, we can have this thing. But it's really our sexuality, or even just sensuality. Like, if I just spend pleasurable, joyful time with him, that sources us for energy, that sources us for health, that sources us, we have more time than we need. Like, it's not the other way around. And I know that, but I wasn't really practicing it in that aspect of my life. I'd still be like, oh my God, can we just go to sleep right now? I'm so tired. And I realized, like, Kim, what if this is a source where, yeah, you have less hour of sleep, but you get so much from that interaction and from being a sexual being. And it's like this light bulb went off, duh. I know it's the Kundalini energy that rises up in the body. And that's not that's the cherry on top when I get my life together. That is the cake. Right. This is the source of your health. This is the source of your creativity. This is the source of your well-being. So you can show up and be an awesome, centered mother. And not the other way around, like, oh, I'm so tired from mothering, so I got to just check out. I can't do that. No. You have to put one before the other and prioritize this so that you source yourself. And I've always been really good at doing that with, like, my food and all these other sources, exercise, meditation, yoga. But sexuality, I'm like, why have I kind of like backburnered that? Like, it's not the most important thing. And I realized, like, whoa, there's so much I'm going to receive from really investing in that and exploring that. And so we actually signed up for a course that is all about intimate sexual connection. And part of it is like fears, hopes, dreams, that we'll sit together and share, like, these are my deepest fears. These are my deepest hopes. These are my deepest dreams. And it creates so much intimacy, because sexuality is it's an energy. It's not like a physical act. You don't even have to have a physical act to have an exchange of sexual energy. But if you're willing to have that intimacy of, like, wow, I'm actually really scared about blah, 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 you open up all these channels of energetic communication in your body. And you receive through your connection with that person, but you also receive more from source, from life. You're an alive woman who's fully open, and you can receive from life. So I know that is what's creating the most for me right now. And I'm super excited about that.
Well, I want to congratulate you on, especially this last one. It's such a significant shift. And I really get what you say about it being something that you have to rethink as the source of, as opposed to the thing that takes the energy away from doing, And I think there's so many women hearing that now, because it's a really strong complaint, isn't it? That men want sexual intimacy, or men want the sex, and mothers might really still be depleted or giving so much of their energy away that they don't really even have the time, blah, blah. But if you repurpose it and you reposition it in your life, like you've done, a really significant pivot there. So that's a really interesting thing. I really do see so many reasons why we need to be talking regularly, you and I. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think if we find a way, we could really do some incredible interventions on certain subjects that I think we can go very deep on. So I really do want to give everybody listening the last little dose of you in 3 words. But before we get there, it's like your summation, like your prayer that goes out for all the women who have never heard this podcast, like you would be sending it out into the collective field, and it would resonate for them and for those who have, to capture wisdom in these 3 words. But before we get there, just let us know. People can visit you, obviously, at your practice. Can they work with you online?
I actually am only online. I don't have a physical practice anymore. So it's drkimd.com or drkimdaramo.com, drkimd.com. And I share a lot on YouTube and videos and things. And I have online programs, which is all about integrating health and harmony in the body for healing. Okay. So there are just a lot of resources on the site. So people who want to, I do work with people live if they come out here for a retreat, and it's an extraordinary, life-altering experience. But I've had people even just read the Mind Body Toolkit, my book, and tell me, like, my entire health has changed from the practices in the book. So There's a lot that I've shared that I know is contributing to people in so many different ways.
Fantastic. And that's drkimd.com. It'll all be on the box here. And I look greatly forward to hearing more from you and spending more time with you if the universe designs that. And for now, can you leave us with your 3 connected or separate words of wisdom? What should they be from Dr. Kim D?
3. Okay. The first thing I would say is be fully willing to choose from your yes. Your heart will guide you, and a lot of it won't make sense. But if you choose it anyway, it will do so many things for you. It'll dissolve all the old stuff you've been holding, because that will come up, and it will invite in all kinds of new, amazing things. The second is be willing to feel what you feel, because especially when you're willing to choose yourself instead of staying in suppression or choosing what they tell you you need to be, suppressing who you are. When you choose yourself, so much is going to come up. And so you have to practice, oh, I'm willing to feel this. Oh, I've invited this. Oh, I wonder what this is making space for with all the stuff moving out.
Right.
And the third thing I would say is really stay connected with the inspiration of like, what is it I know that I know is really my heart's desire? I had a client today, she's in Denmark, she's another doctor, and she said, so I was asking her what it is she's really ready for. And she said, oh, well, if I really believed in myself and I knew that everything was possible, and because she gets it, that like, we don't think those are true, but like, we really can believe in ourselves and everything really is possible. So let yourself connect with what would that mean? And especially if you're going through a grief or a trauma, like I had a love fall away, and it was like, I thought it was the love of my life. And the only thing that helped me through was to ask, how could this be the best thing that ever happened? And then my awareness was immediately like, whoa, there's so much more I can receive than what was even possible in that relationship. But I didn't know how much more I could really be me, how much more I could really be loved and cherished and prioritized. And as soon as that fell away, I started to let in this new awareness of like, whoa, there's so much more in store for me. And what would that look like? So let yourself percolate with that inspiration.
Fantastic. So there's something so powerful about your yes. There's a really brilliant pathway that you connect in with life when you allow yourself to feel what you're going through. And then there's this really important way that inspiration really speaks to you. So how can you really tap into this wisdom? Is yes, feel, and inspired. And if you want to know more detail, go back and watch the video. It's been such a pleasure. I'm so grateful that we have the internet to connect in this way and to share all of this with women around the world. So if you have any autoimmune disease symptoms or symptoms that you're not sure about, and or you are burning out in your life, practicing whatever skill or trade you've learned to do really well. Remember, high achievers and high performers are also really prone to having all kinds of symptoms and medical conditions. So if that's you, or if you're just wondering how to really get better with your alignment, with your health and your choices in your life, then you know that there's someone out there called Dr. Kim who's this cool and this capable to really help you through. And I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for watching. And to you, Dr. Kim, thank you so much. It's been exhilarating. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.